Well, hello, wonderful people. Here we are, chapter 5 coming your way. And of course, you have your book right there and something to write on and something to write with. And I'm coming to you today from my home office. And just a heads up that I have 5 cats in here right now. As you know, a foster for cats, but also I'm cat sitting 2 of them. So you might see some movement in the background. Here we go, chapter 5. It's all about you because you are a consumer. So as we go along this part of the chapter, focusing on the consumer, not the business buyer, but it's still an interesting part of the chapter, think about what does this mean for you? Okay, here are our learning objectives for this particular part of week 3. What influences our purchasing decisions? Is there an actual process that we can help understand? And of course, once there is a new product out there on the market, how does it work that people actually purchase it and then what's called the diffusion process or adaptation process, meaning it spreads. Remember, I don't know whether you remember that pet rocks. They were a big thing for a while, and it actually started with one person, and that was before the internet and social media and everything. And suddenly there were pet rocks for sale everywhere. It was really a funny thing. So knowing this, what about those factors that influence the buying behavior? Well, here in the middle is the most important part here. And marketing, we call it the black box because there is something going on in the individual's brain and supported by emotions and all kinds of other things that will actually get to the buyer's responses there. There are, of course, lots of, think of it this way. Here's input, here is the process, and here is the output. All right, so, and this is my wording, what makes the consumers tick. I don't know whether you have heard of the term black box before. It's actually from aviation, from airplanes. The black box is a recording device that holds a memory of everything that is going on there. So if there's a plane that goes down, if they can recover that black box, they can actually see exactly what the plane was doing, recorded conversations in the cockpit, etc. Okay? Now, moving along, what do we need to know about those influencing factors? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 4 groupings. The first one is the culture, social, personal, psychological. So let's look into all of them. Please note that as marketers, we cannot control these things. However, we need to be aware of them and put them in context and hold them in our heads as we design our marketing strategies. Starting out with culture. And it's the very basic thing that determines our wants and behaviors. For example, in the American culture, here in California specifically, in Southern California, my son lived there for a while. It was all about, looking good, being on the beach and flip-flops and shorts. Whereas I was bicycling in Texas a couple of years ago, it was all about the cowboy hat and the cowboy boots and, steak eating things. Does that make sense? So we are influenced by those things that go on around us. And then we make a decision as individuals to look for people we want to hang out with, and those it's called a subculture. We identify with those same interests and experiences, and those influences too, of course. And then there is this social class that has something to do with where we are in where our family is, this is where we start talking about lower middle class, upper middle class, these kinds of things. And of course, we're very much influenced with this too. So, what about the social factors? As you notice, again, I placed the page numbers and everything here. When it comes to group, there are, by the way, two groups, the reference and aspirational group. Reference group means where we are seeing ourselves right now, and we look at our friends and family, etc., and we fit in. Aspirational group means it's the group that we want to be a part of, aspirational group, and that comes in as a very important factor in just a little bit. Word of mouth. I hope you all know this term, and our groups are the ones that we listen to. So if a friend of ours whom we like and value tells us something, we're more likely to believe it and to act on it than hearing it on the TV. Okay. And then we have opinion leaders. Now, in today's world, those are often from online networks. Think Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channels, etc. And those are the ones who actually influence us a lot. Kardashians are really big. And of course, we can't forget the family that influences us. And lastly, there is a big item here in the role and the status. What are we aiming for? What is our role in all of that? So let's look at the personal factors versus psychological factors. Okay, maybe some of us have already taken a psych class, and this will sound really familiar. When it comes to the personal factors, we need to realize that depending on the occupation we have, we are influenced. When I worked in the city with a .com, it was all about, having the newest toys. This was just when smartphones came out, and it was about having fancy clothes and going to the newest restaurants, etc. What about the age and family life cycle? Now, the life cycle, we'll read a lot about it. We will actually find that is very important for us, because remember the baby boomers? That was the large group with quite some resources on average here. So where are they in their life cycle? Single, married, divorced, retired, all these things, and those impacted too, of course. Money, what's our economic situation, and the lifestyle, which actually means the activities and interests and opinions that we hold. So there are lots of different examples in our chapter, of course, on the lifestyles. And then we have the self-concept. How do you see yourself? One of my sons went through this goth phase, right? That was the self-concept he held for a while. Now, the psychological factors, the motivation, and we'll get to that in a moment, what that means. You might have heard the term motivation or drive. Okay, then perception, because we all have a filter on how we take in things, learning, and of course you being a DVC student, you're on your path. Beliefs and attitudes. Now, don't just go to the religious beliefs. There are lots of beliefs and conversations. And here, as promised, the more about the needs and motivations. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, definitely one of my favorite things ever. It is a model that helps us understand a little bit more about how we make decisions, and the motivational part. Motivation means that it's something that we are willing to spend time and energy on. It's also called drive. Here we have, as long as we are hungry and thirsty or feel unsafe, we're not so worried about whether the ring we're wearing is actually from Tiffany or from, I don't know, Walmart, right? However, once those things are satisfied, then we start to look at, Do I have a circle of friends? Do they like me? You know, hello, teenage years. High school is saying hello. So that's what we are working on very much. And once we have that, then we're looking at, okay, you know, am I appreciated? So then I'm going for that. And this is where, you know, employee of the month comes in and the reserved parking spot, etc. And then finally, the doing things just because it feels right. Let's move on to the stages in the buyer decision process.